I struggle with a kid that's being released from jail and saying, if you bring me back there, she's gonna die.
Unleashed his full fury and hatred towards his mother upon her.
I want to slit her throat. I want her to bleed out. I want to smell the blood. I want to feel the blood. I want to feel the life and the blood leaving her body.
I'm not a psychopath. I'm not this murderer. I'm just trying to peacefully leave or peacefully coexist.
The prosecution's case against 17-year-old Colin Griffith continues this morning, and we're hearing from family and from neighbors describing his brutal actions towards his mother. We're going to go into court together this morning for what could be the state's final day of its case. Also happening in Florida, suitcase killer Sarah Boone making some noise yet again, asking the court, where's my appellate attorney? And we've got one of her former lawyers joining us live on the program. And the defendant in the celebrity hairstylist murder trial may have some explaining to do. The prosecution is showing the jury a ton of conflicting statements from Monica Sementilli. Plus, we're talking about beautiful baby Evelyn and how this precious child could be tipping the scales of justice against the woman who's accused of killing her, her own mother. It's all coming up next for you, plus much more right here on Opening Statements. Good Monday morning to you, my friends. Welcome to Opening Statements. I'm your host, Julie Grant. Are you ready for some coffee and some court? We hope you had a wonderful weekend, and we've got a wonderful show planned for you, so let's get it started. Grab that cup of coffee right now. It's time for my Opening Statements. Pants on fire. Pants on fire, Monica Sementilli. This murder suspect must think that she's smarter than the police. You know, many defendants do. It's how they get that very special seat in the courtroom at the defense table. Monica Sementilli is having this torrid love affair with her racquetball coach, Robert Baker. And police say that the plot to murder Fabio, Monica's husband, was for lust and for greed, so that their torrid affair could continue and they would use Fabio's money to enjoy it even more. Pretty disgusting, isn't it? But what's more, when police interview Monica Sementilli the day her husband is murdered, she tells them that she can barely remember her racquetball coach's last name. She thinks it's Baker. Little did she know that her lies would come back to haunt her. Every racy picture that she sent him during their affair that police would collect as evidence is now going to motive. And when the two of them were together in the back of the squad car, the recording device would capture Monica saying to her lover, Rob, not sure about his last name, Baker, quote, deny everything and don't talk. My friends, that is why I'm starting off the show talking about this defendant by saying pants on fire. We'll talk about it more coming up. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
When you went into this, what you call linking up with him, it was to repair things with him, right?
Yeah.
After he pulled the gun on you, how were you feeling at that point?
He grabbed me first, so that everything, all bets is off the table.
Testimony resumes this morning in the ASAP Rocky trial in California. So court's going to start up at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. We are going to be there with our cameras and bring you the highlights. In Utah, we've got defendant Corey Richens back in court. She's got a juror questionnaire hearing. That one's starting up at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. And she's accused of poisoning, of course, her husband, Eric. He is the victim on this case. The allegation is she did it with a lethal dose of fentanyl. And in Florida, court picks back up at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time for the deadly son murder trial for Colin Griffith. And that is our top story this morning. The state expected to rest today. Friday, Griffith's grandfather took the stand and testified about the threats that he made to his mother, Kathy.
My grandson was very aggravated at his grandmother and his mother. He said, I am so tired of these two bitches. I'm disgusted. He said, my mom, I keep thinking over and over, I want to slit her throat. I want her to bleed out. I want to smell the blood. I want to feel the blood. I want to feel the life and the blood leaving her body.
Prosecutors say that Griffith had threatened to kill his mother for months before she was found fatally stabbed. But Griffith told police that he pulled a knife in order to protect himself from his mother. They got into an argument, and he claims that she fell on it during that argument. So a self-defense case, but yet an imperfect self-defense case, as he's saying that she fell on the knife that pierced her neck. So let's talk about this kid. I want to bring in our legal analyst guests, attorneys Tommy Pope and Kirk Nurmi. Good morning to you both. Tommy, let me begin with you, please. When we think about this prosecution of this kid, tell me what you would be thinking if you're handling this case of Mr. Griffiths.
You know, you want to keep it tight. I don't know what has been admitted or not about the supposed self-defense with the dad, but, you know, it sounds like this young man's standard operating procedure is violence. But, you don't want to overreach when you have a good case and make sure that, again, it gets too good to you and you end up setting it up for an appeal. So that would be the first thing. It seems pretty straightforward. But we always say that when we're sitting out here, you're the one in the room prosecuting it.
Sure, right. It's hard when you're in the trenches. You both know that. Kirk, let me go to you on the defense side, please. What are you thinking about this imperfect self-defense that his attorneys are working with on this case?
Well, you know, the story he tells on the 911 call, as you pointed out, is this idea that she fell on the knife, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever, right? So you're going to be, before you even get to court, you're talking to your client about the nonsensical nature of their self-defense claim, things of that nature. Then you're looking, you want objective facts, right? This is, most self-defense cases, somebody needs to take the stand to say they were in fear of their life. But in this case, you want to do everything you can to avoid that. And one of the ways you might be able to do that is through expert testimony about his psychology, and or more specifically, if there's any forensic evidence that could back up his story, his more detailed story, what he says. Is there anything objective that the jury could hang their hat on that would say that, hey, the knife went in this way, what have you, therefore it is possible that he acted in self-defense? That's where you need to keep it clean on the defense side as well, objective.
Yes, great point, Kirk. Thank you. Let's talk a little more about Grandpa, a great witness, as we know. I have another clip where he's asked if he warned his daughter, Kathy, about Colin.
That he's been threatening her, and he's been threatening Susan multiple times with killing both of them.
Now, knowing that, though, did she still want him in the household and want him to keep having the relationship with him?
Yes.
I mean, you can understand why, right, Tommy? Back to you. It's his mother. She birthed him. Your thoughts on this, about a parent dealing with such a scary child?
I was thinking, it's almost she loved him to death, or vice versa. You know, she's willing to take that risk because she thinks she can make a difference, that she can change him, that, that's not going to happen. And, whatever set him on this path, we talk about our murder cases all the time. There's got to be some mental illness there. But whatever, again, I keep going back to he got away with it, one way or another the first time. And he just does what he wants to do. But hopefully he'll be spending the rest of his life in prison because of that.
Right, Tommy. I have another clip I want to play here, and this is pertaining to the text messages that his mom had. And prosecutors say that this was really what spawned his actions, because his mother apparently found out about his plot to kill his father and was going to expose him for it. And the jury won't hear that it's his dad who was killed. They just know he killed someone, and that was ruled a self-defense case. So let's take a listen to this coming in to the courtroom.
You've left me with no choice. Colin, the recordings of you admitting to killing blank and planning the murder, there are 4 different instances from my Ring camera, are all going to Bob, Susie, Amanda, and Chris at 3 p.m. today. Plus the recovered audio from blank's iCloud where you told your blank you hated me and I was an evil bitch are being sent to. My dad is sending his recordings of you telling him how you planned my murder back in February.
My goodness. Kirk, back to you, please. If you're on this defense team and Colin Griffith asks you, should I be worried that they might reopen up the case with Dad? What would you say to that?
Yes, you should be, because we look at it and we can see this in the Lori Vallow situation, right? She doesn't get charged initially. It's resumed to self-defense with her brother. Then more evidence comes to light and she's charged with conspiracy to commit murder. So likely there's possibility that the evidence that comes out, the things that come out in this case, are going to shine a new light on things that happen in Oklahoma. There's no doubt about it. And, you know, it's going to result in this young man spending the rest of his life in prison, and it seems like that is pretty warranted at this point.
Kirk, thank you. And I love the Vallow comparison too. You know, wow, that's another one we're watching carefully. And when you think about the mindset to do something like this, you know, Tommy Pope, I've had many people say to me, oh my gosh, he must have been insane at the time, you know, what, and I'm going, no, we're not seeing an insanity defense. Would you speak to how that works and why we may not be seeing one?
Sure. People think, again, when you have this type of activity, you and I've talked about it ad nauseum about Susan Smith and, you know, the kids, and, you know, when you have that type of conduct, it's so outrageous you think they must be insane. But insane under the McNaughton standard that we have is basically, do you know legal and moral right from legal and moral wrong? So normally the ones I've had in the past that were truly insane, you know, thought they were building a temple to the Lord, and, you know, I had a guy burn his mother up in her house one time, and he really thought he was, you know, creating like an Old Testament altar. And so, but with those exceptions, when you can exist in the world, stop at traffic lights, you know, carry on a conversation, you know, contrary to what people think, we're not going to see insanity in those circumstances.
Right. You both have seen your fair share of psychopaths and sociopaths. Kirk Nurmi, as you look at this kid, is there any doubt in your mind that he's a psychopath?
No, you know, I was looking at that video you were showing earlier, Julie, where he's in the back of the police car saying, I'm not a psychopath. That if you're saying that sentence in your life, maybe you just are, right? That's not the kind of thing that most people have to say in their life. You know, I tell you, that's why one thing I think the defense went wrong in this case. If you're going to have evidence of another killing, don't sanitize it. Bring it in. So why was there reason to believe that there was self-defense, that he had to defend himself from his father? Why? Because there's got to be lots of reasons here, and that gets into his psychology. So you could get into that kind of stuff while presenting his defense, and maybe there's a dynamic here, right, that could aid his case instead of just, you killed blank. That is not a good look for the defense at all. I think they made a miscalculation there. If that evidence was going to come in, don't sanitize it, embrace it, and roll with it in terms of that psychology.
Oh, that's an interesting take. Kirk, I haven't heard anybody say that. Thank you for that. Excellent analysis from you both, as always, and you're sticking around. Tommy Pope, Kirk Nurmi, stand by, please. Coming up next on Opening Statements, here's what we've got.
I forgive myself for falling in love with a monster. I wrote him letters. I wrote his family and his daughters, apologizing for asking for their forgiveness.
Court pronounces sentence as follows. Ms. Boone, court sentences you to life in the Department of Corrections.
Oh, the great Sarah Boone filing a new motion asking, where's my attorney? Plus, defendant Monica Sementilli's story isn't adding up.
Hi, Monica?
Yeah.
Did you text Marcel?
Oh, hi. How are you? I haven't called me back in so long.
Yeah. Well, you're out of town for a week, right?
I keep on fighting, and I'm calling you almost every day.
She thinks I'm going to kill her, and then I want to kill her.
Do you?
A troubled teen who fatally shot his own father
now stands accused for the murder of his mother.
I'm not a psychopath. I'm not this murderer.
Was it an argument that led to a tragic accident?
Or a fit of rage that ended in cold-blooded murder?
Everybody that's special to him in his life is dead.
The Deadly Son murder trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
For certain.
I can't breathe, babe. Seriously.
Yeah, that's when you do and you choke me.
So then it's like, we decided to play hide and seek, right? Okay. So he gets in the suitcase. The problem is I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder in the second degree as charged in the information.
Let's talk about what's trending in true crime. Sarah Boone appearing very anxious for the next phase of her court case as she's filed a formal motion with the court asking what attorney is handling her appeal. You'll recall she was convicted of murder after leaving her boyfriend George Torres inside of a suitcase to die. Take a look at the document. Look and notice this time it's not a handwritten motion like we've seen in the past from her. It's all typed up. She signed it there as well. The clerk responded to her saying that attorney Joshua Adams has been appointed to represent her for her appeal, but at this time, no notice of appeal has been filed. Now, Sarah Boone apparently isn't happy. She's saying she's not in the know, asking what's going on, where's her attorney? So let's talk about Sarah Boone and why she hasn't been able to make contact with this attorney yet. First, I want to bring in Court TV digital content producer Lauren Silver to talk about this. Lauren, good morning. Always great to see you. We say you're a resident expert on the Sarah Boone case, as you're always following what she's filing and the moves she's making. So what did you think when you saw this latest motion filed?
I mean, I was shocked it wasn't handwritten. She has beautiful penmanship, and she is known for writing letters. The other part of this motion is that it says that she's filing it pro se, even though she acknowledges in the motion that she has been given an appellate attorney. She correctly names him Joshua Adams and says that I haven't heard from him. So where is my attorney? Well, she answered her own question. She has an attorney. My guess is that she's reached out and hasn't heard back and is frustrated. That is a theme we've certainly seen from her before.
Right. Oh yeah, I said in one of my predictions I made for 2025, Lauren, you know this, I said, oh, we haven't heard the last of Sarah Boone. We're gonna hear her being very vocal from prison. And speaking of, has she moved?
She has. So now she's in the prison system. She had been in the Orange County Jail for over 4 years. This month will be 5 years since George was killed. So she had been in jail for a very long time. She was then moved to the Florida Women's Reception Center, which I take it as sort of like where you go before you get moved to a more permanent area. And now she has been moved to Ocala, Florida, which is a little bit northwest of Orlando. So she has a home for now, at least.
Right, she does, where she can complain. And, you know, the complaining's become kind of thematic with her, Lauren, hasn't it? It seems that she had all those excellent attorneys, all outstanding, highly regarded in the area, and just nobody, was working with her to her standards, so to speak. Does this latest motion kind of make you hearken back to some of those past letters, Lauren?
Absolutely. I mean, the message from Sarah Boone is that she is the priority. She needs to be the priority, and she needs to feel like her attorney is only working for her case. That is not realistic, especially when we're talking about someone who has filed a motion of indigency. So this is a public defender who I imagine has a very large caseload. And to be fair, she was just convicted in December. She hasn't had a very long time for this appeal to sit. So I can't imagine that this is top of the list for the appellate attorney, but I'm sure that she has reached out multiple times if I know her at all.
Yes. Well said, as always. And my friends at home, check out Lauren's great articles on CourtTV.com. Lauren Silver, we'll have you back very soon to talk about Ms. Boone or one of these other big cases I know. I want to bring in our next guest. I was just mentioning all of those wonderful attorneys. I want to bring in one of them right now, attorney Frank Bankowitz. I'm not sure if he was number 6 or number 7. We lost count. There were so many of them. Frank is standing by to answer some questions for us. Good morning, Frank. Nice to have you back on the show. Do you recall, were you number 6 or 7 for her?
I think I was number 6.
6? Okay. It's been a while. I remember we talked about it, and geez, I think we wound up with 9 and 10 at trial for her. I think that's what we settled on with Sarah Boone. Okay, Frank, I want to ask you about the time frame in Florida, the law, what the law says in terms of the time to file an appeal. Would you kind of walk us through what you have to do when you're a defense attorney in terms of first exhausting certain remedies with the trial court before you proceed to the appellate court?
Well, you can file a motion for a new trial, which she did, and that has to be filed within a certain number of days after the jury verdict, and they did that. And then her attorney did file, in spite of what the clerk's office told her, they did file an appeal on the 18th of December, 2024. And that appeal has to be filed within 30 days of the rendition of the judgment and sentence of the court. And it was filed, but I have some questions about whether it was properly filed. The notice of appeal states, notice is hereby given that the defendant, Sarah Boone, appeals to the District Court of Appeals, 9th District of Florida. There is no 9th District in Florida. And there are 6 district courts of appeal, and the one that regulates, so to speak, Orange County is the 6th District Court of Appeals in Lakeland, Florida. So the notice of appeal is improper, improperly stated. It's sent to the wrong court, but there was an appeal filed. Again, irrespective of what the clerk's office, their letter to her stating that Mr. Adams is appointed, however, no notice of appeal was filed. That's incorrect. That letter is dated January 29th.
Whoa, Frank,
and the appeal was dated
big here.
December the 18th.
Yeah. So it would have been within the proper window of time, within that 30-day window, but for, as you've caught,
correct,
it seems to have been improperly filed with this district that doesn't exist. So that would explain why the clerk's office is saying we have no notice on file, but we have your attorney's name. Okay, so a couple questions then, Frank, to follow up.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, they filed it, technically the notice of appeal has to be filed in the circuit court, which would be Orange County. But a copy goes to the District Court of Appeals, and this has the 9th District. Again, there is no 9th District.
Right, as you noted that. So maybe that's perhaps the reason it got lost, or seems to have gotten lost, because from what we can see publicly, it doesn't seem that something was filed, but yet, as you pointed out, just filed in the wrong place. So can this be corrected? I think that's the biggest follow-up question. Is there any way to correct this for Sarah Boone?
Yes, it can be corrected, and an amended notice of appeal can be filed. But again, they filed it in the right court, the circuit court, but not the right district court, let's put it that way. And but yeah, it can be remedied. I'm very surprised that the clerk's office said that there's no notice filed, because I have the what's called e-filing date of December the 18th at 4:58 p.m. On the document itself. So the clerk's office did receive it. So the clerk, whoever sent her that reply, is wrong, basically.
Oh, wow. And we know Sarah Boone is unlikely to let that go, huh, Frank?
Oh, no, she's not going to let that go, not Sarah. And I, in preparation for our meeting today, I tried to reach out to Mr. Adams, but who I know personally, and he's an excellent attorney, and but I was not able to reach him before this morning.
Thank you for that, Frank. Joshua Adams was the name that the clerk gave her. Okay, so you personally know him, and he is very good and has a solid reputation.
Yes, he is. And like every attorney that Ms. Boone had, they're all experienced criminal defense attorneys and or appellate attorneys, which Mr. Adams appears to be there has to be a list of attorneys who will handle certain cases. And they're the ones that handle the circuit court cases, which are the murder cases, ones that handle county court misdemeanors, and then you have appellate lists of attorneys. So, he must be on that appellate list or he would not have been appointed.
Right. Okay, well, we'll leave it there for now. But thank you for all of the insight and the legal explanations coming from the great state of Florida where you practice. Attorney Frank Bankowitz, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to have you on the program. Take care. Still to come here on Opening Statements.
Not only was the defendant having an affair with Baker, but they were also swinging with other people. Her older daughter, Jessica, who you'll hear from, found Baker sleeping in the defendant's bed.
We're spotlighting defendant Monica Sementilli, and her statements that just aren't adding up. Plus, we're waiting for her testimony to resume in the deadly son murder trial for Colin Griffith. Want to show you a live picture of the courtroom in Florida. There you can see the seal kind of in the dark there, and somebody walking by. They're getting ready to go. We're going to go in there live when it begins. Welcome back to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. This morning, we're spotlighting the difficult set of facts for defendant Monica Sementilli. This woman is accused of conspiring with her lover to have her celebrity hairstylist husband murdered. Prosecutors say that it was lust and greed that drove Monica Sementilli and her lover Robert Baker to find another man to stab Fabio Sementilli outside of their family home. Monica's defense team says that Baker and the co-conspirator did it without her knowledge. On Friday, the jury heard some of the numerous phone calls Sementilli made to a detective asking for updates.
Hello?
Hi, Monica?
Yes.
This is Detective Parcell.
Oh, hi. How are you? I haven't called me back in so long.
Yeah. Well, you're out of town for a week, right?
I came on Friday, and I'm calling you almost every day. Well, what can you discuss? What can you tell me? I'm sick here. I just need know that something's going on. You're working on something.
Definitely are working on some stuff.
I know you said you had all these swabs and you couldn't send them in. Is everything like?
Well, we sent the first round in. Everything came back to Fabio on the first round. So you got to be patient with us. Partner and I are working hard on this. My boss is aware of everything we've done. So we're keeping track of everything we do. I got a huge 5-inch binder on this thing already. So we're making progress.
It's hard to be patient.
All right, let's talk about this. I want to bring back in attorney Tommy Pope and welcome in private investigator. He served in our military as well, and for the NYPD, Manuel Gomez. Good morning to you, Manuel. Let me start with you. Let's talk a little bit about Monica Sementilli and calling the detectives, wanting the updates, and then getting a little bit of amnesia, should we call it? Maybe purposeful amnesia. Just couldn't quite remember a lover's last name when asked about it. What do you think of her in this plot?
Well, I think the fact that she kept calling detectives proves that her intent was really for the insurance. She called numerous times asking in the 6-month period, when is this going to be over with? When is they going to be able to make a verdict so that the insurance can pay the claim on this? And so there was a $1.5 million policy put, but the only thing was it wasn't put all in her name. It was put in her name and her children's name. And the fact that, she keeps on saying she doesn't know the guy's name who she was clearly involved with and was her instructor, okay, shows that she was lying all along. And there are many aspects to this case which are damning for her. That, one of the most damning ones is when you look at the fact that she set the murder up, and I can tell you why I can say that. And the reason why is because these guys knew exactly where to go to get the surveillance. And that surveillance system was hidden in her garage. Her husband put that surveillance system in the garage because he didn't want to make it easy accessible to anyone to find if his house got robbed. So that piece of information alone is damning and shows that they were told exactly where to go. And that's going to be one of the crucial nails that nails her coffin shut in this case.
Oh, I love that analysis, Manuel. So that fact alone tells you, as a private investigator, that it was an inside job, that she had to have fed them that information because otherwise they wouldn't have known. Oh, that's good. Okay, Tommy Pope, you're an investigator as well. You know, our viewers certainly know that about you. I want to play this clip where detectives ask her, you know, about her lover and what his name is, and you know, she's really trying to recall it. Let's watch.
So prior to Fabio's death, the only gym friends that have been in your house are who?
Oh, yeah, Liz and Faye.
Okay, who else is part of that group?
Oh my gosh. Let's see.
That is in.
Paula, Rob, he's our lead director for basketball. I wasn't basketball.
What's Rob's last name? What's Paula's last name?
I don't know.
You know his last name?
I have the whole last name.
That's okay.
Okay. Tommy Pope, what's your reaction to her answering this way when asked about the lover?
I think she's trying way too hard. You know, and if she had just lightened up and tied the truth, you know, the best lies are wrapped in the truth, but she was almost panicky in her, you know, calling police too much, you know, acting like I kind of don't remember the guy. She'd been better off to fully own knowing him, you know, so especially after the pants on fire pictures she was sending to him.
Right, right. I mean, some of them, they are so racy, Tommy. Our wonderful field producer, Tiffany Smith, you know, who's there and seeing, you know, what's being displayed for the jury. Like, it's uncomfortable to even talk about what's in those pictures. Some of them, we can't describe them for our viewers because we got to abide by the FCC regulations, right? Okay, let's talk about something else with this woman. So the lover, Robert Baker, he pleads no contest. He's doing time for it. Apparently, he's on the state witness list. But the defense is confident, Manuel, that he's going to come in and stick to their story, that she didn't know, she had no involvement, that it was him and the other guy who did this as a big favor to her. How do you think that'll go?
I don't think that he's going to now stick to the story that he did it and she's innocent. And the reason why is because, you know, one, this is life. And he's going to want to make a deal. He's a young man, and he's going to want to make that deal. So there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to, especially now the tables have turned. And Julie, I want to commend the LAPD on this case for putting him side by side with her in a cell before they were doing their pretrial hearings, so they could let them talk because they knew that she was going to spill the beans and show her true colors. And that's going to be damning on this case. She called him a killer. He realizes the love has died out. I think he's going to testify.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good, Manuel. You think maybe some love's been lost, should we say, since he became incarcerated. Tommy Pope, tell me, from a prosecutor's perspective, so you got the lover and then you got the hitman, shall we call him. You know, he pleaded guilty. He's expected to testify. And they don't suspect he's going to be a problem. They think that he is going to be truthful, forthcoming. If you're a prosecutor, which one of those do you call first?
I would probably call the Baker guy first, the one that you're not sure about, because you can then use the other guy for kind of a cleanup. Traditionally, what we would do would plead them guilty but not sentence them until after their testimony. Now, the defense can make some hay, you know, that you know, you hope to get a good deal, but that's going to happen regardless. And so my concern when we were first covering it was the fact that he had already pled and already received his sentence. Talk about Baker. He's got no incentive to really do anything. That would be kind of tactically the one thing I would have done different if they allow that in that state is hold the sentencing in abeyance until after the testimony.
Yes, yes. Tommy, thank you for bringing that up. Excellent point. If they could have, they should have. You're 100% right on that. We'll have to see if we can find out why they did it, because And they're kind of, stuck with whatever they get out of these two. We shall see. Tommy Pope, we got to say a big thank you to you for your time and expertise. Manuel's coming along with us. I want you to do the same at home, please. Coming up on opening statements, we're talking about a brand new trial we have for you beginning in Tennessee. Do you remember hearing about this little angel, baby Evelyn? Jury selection starts today in the trial of her mother, who's accused of killing her. And we've got a live look for you in Florida. Oh, look at the left of your screen. There we see him. He was playing hide-and-go-seek last week, but his attorney seems to be up at the podium. So we see Colin Griffith there. Our cameras got him as we're getting ready to go into the courtroom, and this could be the day that the state rests. Big day ahead. We're going to be there together for it all. Be right back.
It was the biggest story in the world.
People saw the facts differently.
Somebody manufactured evidence in this case.
This was kind of a crazy spectacle.
This case is a circus.
He was an icon. They are in for the fight of their lives.
Everybody thinks you're guilty.
Trial and Error. Why did O.J. win? A Court TV original series. Premieres February 16th. Only on Court TV.
We got a brand new trial on Court TV set to begin today. The baby Evelyn murder trial. I know you're going to remember this case, my friends. A Tennessee mother named Megan Boswell is the accused. She's being accused of murdering her 15-month-old daughter, Evelyn, who you see on the right there. Jury selection starts this morning. Court TV's Vinnie Politan has more.
I just want her back. That's all I want. I've been so long without her.
That's 18-year-old Megan Boswell in February of 2020 talking about her missing toddler, Evelyn.
Evelyn. Hi.
15-month-old Evelyn was reported missing in February, even though she was last seen months before.
Hi. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, why didn't you report it missing earlier? Because my mom threatened me, and I just want her back.
Boswell told police her mother had taken Evelyn.
We have been looking for baby Evelyn since last Tuesday. We've been working 24/7 nonstop. We've received a number of conflicting, inaccurate statements from the mother, Megan Boswell, Evelyn's mother.
When Evelyn wasn't with Megan's mother or her own father, the investigation revealed Megan was lying.
As a result, she has been charged with false reporting.
Megan was arrested and taken into custody. 10 days later, 2 months after Evelyn was last seen, Megan's father called police and suggested they search his property.
During the search, investigators discovered human remains believed to be those of a 15-month-old girl.
Megan was charged with premeditated murder, child abuse, child neglect, abuse of a corpse, tampering with evidence, and 12 counts of lying to police.
We have filed a notice to seek a sentence of imprisonment for life without the possibility of parole.
Court testimony revealed Evelyn was found in Megan's old playhouse behind a shed, tightly wound in a fleece blanket, wrapped in aluminum foil, then a trash bag, and shoved head first while alive into a trash can. The medical examiner determined her death was intentional.
Vinnie Politan reporting there. This was one of those cases that really stuck with me. It was a case that came up during the pandemic a lot, and finally we're getting to trial today. So we're going to talk about what kind of jury both sides are going to want and the lies that this mother told. Let's bring back in private investigator and military veteran Manuel Gomez and retired criminal defense attorney and author Kirk Nurmi. Manuel, to you first on a point on the investigation. I think one thing people found so offensive was Megan Boswell tried to blame Ethan Perry, who is serving in the military, stationed in Louisiana. He serves in the Army, and it was an impossibility that baby Evelyn could have been with him. Investigators figured that out quickly, and that was what was the initial hook, as you know, to get her on the false reports, to lodge her before they proceeded with more charges. Tell me, what does that say to you when you're working a case and then you discover a big lie from your suspect?
Well, that it proves to me right there that, she fabricated this because she was scared, and she comes from a highly dysfunctional family, okay? And the fact that she picked this guy, right, shows you that she's not a good thinker. Because the fact is, he was nowhere near this child, and he wasn't even in the state at the time of this child going missing. On top of that, Julie, this is another case, unfortunately, of Child Protective Services letting a child fall through the cracks. This child was reported for neglect and abuse before the Child Protective Services, and they didn't do their job. This child was failed on so many levels. But I think one of the people that we really need to look into, Julie, and that disturbs me highly, is that the fact that the father knew that the remains were possibly on that estate. There is no doubt in my mind he knew what happened.
I love what you're saying there. You know, and that makes you mad, especially when you're a prosecutor and you might have people connected with the case that, you know, knew something, didn't do something. It really angers you, but they may need him as a witness, right? So maybe he hasn't been charged for that reason. Don't know. Great points, Manuel. Kirk, I want to ask you, please, about the jury. Let's look at this from the harder side, the Megan Boswell side, defending this one. What kind of jurors would you try to pick for her if you were her attorney, Kirk?
Boy, that's a tough one, Julie, because one of the things, you back it up, one of the things, if there was ever a plea offer made, if I have a client like Miss Boswell, obviously I'm not going to want to go to trial. I'm not going to want to stand in front of that jury, but because the jury is going to hate her, right? I'm going to advise that client that the jury is going to hate you. And what I'm going to do then, when we get to trial, when we get to that jury selection, is I'm going to confront that. It doesn't make jury selection very pleasant, but there's no pleasant facts here. So you're going to have to look at that jury and say, does anyone think, looking at her, that this is a person capable of killing their child? Because there are people that will make judgments upon that just out of hearing the evidence and just out of looking at the accused. So you're going to want to weed some of that anger out as best you can by embracing those facts. And then looking at it, trying to get people that are open-minded to the evidence, because you want to make sure it's not going to be about her innocence per se. It's going to be about defending her constitutional rights. So you want to make sure that you have jurors that are open to both sides, and weeding that hatred out is the initial way to do it.
I love those points. Kirk, tell me, you mentioned plea agreements. Even on a morning like this, practically, kind of take us behind the scenes. If you're repping her, would you be going to the prosecutors before you start picking and say, is there anything we can possibly do here?
Well, certainly it depends on the discussions prior to that, because clients can change their minds a lot. There can be a lot of bravado. If there was a plea offer made, you know, someone like Miss Boswell, who's prone to, say, lying, thinks she's going to get away with it again, and, you know, is going to be defiant. She's going to have the bravado, no jury's going to convict me kind of thing at her young age. Maybe that bravado wears off when she walks into the courtroom and she's seeing that jury being selected. So if she changes her mind to any plea offer, then you see if the prosecutor's open to it. So mainly, you know, you really, before you go to a prosecutor or something like that, you want to make sure your client agrees to it, because you lose credibility with the prosecutor if you're begging for a plea and then your client doesn't want to take it.
Oh, sure. Great point. Kirk Nurmi, Manuel Gomez, thank you both so much for weighing in. This is a big one. As you both know, it made national news as soon as baby Evelyn was missing. And then the result was what we had all hoped it wouldn't be, with her found dead. And now the quest for justice officially kicks off with trial this morning and the picking of the jury. I know we have to let you both go. Manuel Gomez, Kirk Nurmi, thank you both so much for all of your insight this morning. We'll look forward to having you both back very soon. That is all for this episode of Opening Statements. You can watch it again if you want. You can share it. Tell your friends. Just go to CourtTV.com and put the shows up every day there. Click on that red tab at the top.